Easter Sunday was supposed to be just another family barbecue at our house. You know the type. Children running around with chocolate-stained faces, my brother-in-law arguing with my dad about baseball statistics, and my sister complaining about how her teenagers never help with anything. The normal family chaos that I had learned to love over the years. I'm Gary, 42 years old, and I work as an accountant. It's not the most exciting job in the world, but it pays the bills and keeps my family comfortable. My wife, Jennifer, 39, is a nurse at the local hospital. We've been married for 15 years and have 2 children. Tyler, who's 13 and thinks everything I do is embarrassing, and Mia, our 10-year-old daughter, who still thinks her dad is the greatest. The last few months have been really good for us, actually. Jennifer had been taking better care of herself, going to the gym, getting her hair done more often, buying new clothes. I completely encouraged her. After 15 years of marriage and 2 children, I thought it was healthy that she was investing in herself again. She would go out with her gym friends every Friday night, which I supported. Hell, I even offered to handle bedtime duties so she could have her me time. Everything seemed normal that Sunday afternoon. Jennifer was upstairs taking a nap after helping me prepare everything for the family gathering. The kids were playing video games with their cousins, and I was manning the grill, cold beer in hand, feeling pretty content with life. That's when my niece Emma approached. Emma is 19, my sister's oldest daughter, and has always been the tech expert of the family. She's constantly on her phone, which usually annoys me a lot, but she's a good kid with a big heart. "Uncle Gary," she said, laughing as she approached with her phone in hand, "you need to see this. I'm trying to explain to Grandpa how dating apps work nowadays, and some of these profiles are absolutely hilarious." I chuckled and flipped a burger. "Emma, I don't think your grandfather wants to know about modern dating. The man still thinks email is too complicated." "No, but seriously, look at this woman who just popped up on my Bumble." She was laughing uncontrollably now. "Uncle Gary, she looks exactly like Aunt Jen. Like, it's scary how similar they are." My hand froze on the grill tongs. Something cold settled in my stomach, but I forced a laugh. "Really? Let me see this doppelganger." Emma showed me her phone, and the world turned upside down. It wasn't someone who looked like Jennifer. It was Jennifer. The profile read, Jen, 38, with a bio that made my blood freeze. Recently single, mom of 2, ready to explore life again. Love yoga, wine nights, and spontaneous adventures. Looking for someone who knows how to treat a woman right. Kiss. The photos were recent.
I recognized the yoga outfit she bought last month. There was a selfie I remembered her taking during one of her Friday night outings. Another photo showed her at our local coffee shop, the one she goes to after her gym sessions. But it was the status that really gut-punched me. Online now. My wife was upstairs, supposedly napping, but according to this profile, she was active on a dating app, right at that moment, while our children played 20 feet away and I grilled food for our family. "Uncle Gary?" Emma's voice seemed to come from far away. "Are you okay? You look really pale." I realized I'd been staring at her phone for what felt like an eternity. My mouth was completely dry and I could feel sweat beading on my forehead despite the cool April breeze. "Yeah, wow, what an incredible resemblance." I managed to keep my voice steady, though everything inside me was screaming. "Can I see it again? The similarity is just incredible." Emma handed me the phone, probably thinking I was just amazed by the coincidence. If only she knew she had just blown up my entire world. I scrolled through the profile with shaking hands. The distance showed 2 miles, exactly how far we lived from downtown. Her interests listed things like spontaneous weekend getaways and trying new restaurants, things she'd never mentioned wanting to do with me. Under occupation, it said healthcare professional, but made no mention of being married. 15 years. 15 years of marriage, and my wife was advertising herself as recently single to strangers on the internet. "Emma?" I said, handing back the phone and trying to sound casual. "I'm getting a bit of a headache. Mind if I head inside for some aspirin?" She nodded sympathetically. "Probably too much sun. These April days can be deceiving." I walked into the house on unsteady legs, my mind racing. Part of me wanted to believe there was some explanation, some misunderstanding. Maybe someone had stolen her photos. Maybe this was some kind of elaborate prank. But deep down, I knew better. The photos were too recent, too personal. And that online now status while she was supposedly sleeping upstairs, that wasn't a coincidence. I climbed the stairs toward our bedroom, each step feeling heavier than the last. I could hear Jennifer's breathing through the slightly open door, the steady rhythm of someone actually asleep. Or someone pretending to be asleep while scrolling through messages from potential hookups. My 15-year marriage was about to have a very different kind of Easter Sunday resurrection. I stood outside our bedroom door for what felt like hours, but was probably only 30 seconds. My hand trembled as I reached for the doorknob. Through the crack, I could see Jennifer lying on her side, facing away from me, her phone nowhere in sight. "Jen?" I said, softly, pushing the door open.
Honey, we need to talk. She stirred and rolled over, looking genuinely drowsy. For a split second, I wondered if I'd lost my mind. Maybe it really was just someone who looked exactly like my wife. "Carrie? What's wrong? You look terrible." She sat up, brushing her hair out of her face. "Is everything okay downstairs?" I sat on the edge of our bed, the bed where we'd made love, where we'd conceived our children, where we'd shared 15 years of intimate conversations. Now it felt like sitting on the edge of a cliff. "Emma showed me something interesting on her phone," I began, watching Jennifer's face carefully. "A dating profile of someone who looks exactly like you." Jennifer's expression didn't change immediately. She blinked a few times, processing what I'd said. "A dating profile? That's weird. Probably just someone using my photos. You know how people steal pictures from social media these days?" Her voice was steady, but I noticed her hands fidgeting with the comforter. I pulled out my own phone and opened the screenshots I'd quickly taken of Emma's screen. "Is that what happened here, Jen?" I watched the color drain from her face as she looked at the images. Her mouth opened and closed several times before any words came out. "Gary, I can explain. This isn't what it looks like." "Then explain to me what recently single mom of 2 means when we're married and our kids are downstairs with your parents." Jennifer's hands were shaking now. I created that profile months ago when we were going through that rough patch." "What rough patch?" My voice was rising despite my efforts to stay calm. "When exactly were we going through a rough patch that I somehow missed? You've been so busy with work and I felt invisible, like you didn't see me anymore." Tears started forming in her eyes. "I never actually met anyone from there. It was just validation, just to feel attractive again." I stood up and started pacing. "Jennifer, this profile shows you were online 15 minutes ago, while you were supposedly napping, while our family is downstairs celebrating Easter." She broke then. The tears came in full force and she buried her face in her hands. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It started innocently, I swear. I just wanted to feel wanted again." "How long?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. 3 months, she sobbed. "But Gary, I never met anyone. I never physically cheated on you." "Never met anyone?" I sat back down, feeling like I needed to anchor myself. "Jennifer, you've been going out every Friday night. Where have you been going?" "With friends. I do go out with friends from the gym." "And the app?" She looked up at me with mascara streaking down her cheeks. I would check messages sometimes, but it was harmless flirting."
Nothing more. I felt something cold and analytical take over, my accountant brain kicking in when my emotional brain couldn't handle the overload. "Show me." "What?" "Show me the app. Show me these harmless conversations." Jennifer's face went white again. "Gary, I don't think that's necessary. Show me, or I'm going downstairs right now and telling everyone why Easter dinner is canceled." With trembling hands, she reached for her phone on the nightstand. I watched as she opened Bumble, and my stomach dropped further. There were dozens of matches. dozens of conversations. I grabbed the phone before she could close it and started scrolling. The conversations weren't just harmless flirting. They were explicit. They were planning meetings. One guy named Derek had sent messages about meeting her at the Marriott downtown. The Marriott, Jennifer? When did you go to the Marriott? Carrie, please don't do this. When did you go to the fucking Marriott? Last Friday, she whispered. The room spun. Last Friday. She'd told me she was going to a wine tasting with her gym friends. She'd come home at midnight, slightly drunk, and went straight to bed. Did you sleep with him? No, we talked, and maybe kissed, but nothing more, I swear. Maybe kissed. I repeated the words like they were in a foreign language. Maybe kissed. Gary, please, our marriage was struggling, and I felt so alone. I looked at my wife of 15 years, the woman who'd walked down the aisle promising to forsake all others, who'd held my hand during my father's funeral, who'd given birth to our children, and realized I was looking at a stranger. Our marriage was struggling? I asked. Jennifer, 2 months ago you told me you loved me every day. We made love twice a week. We planned that vacation to Hawaii for our anniversary. But you never really saw me anymore. So instead of talking to me, your husband of 15 years, you decided to create a dating profile and start kissing other men? The sound of Tyler's laughter drifted up from downstairs, and I felt my heart shatter completely. My son was downstairs playing with his cousins while his mother confessed to cheating on his father. I need some air, I said, standing up. I need to think. Gary, please don't leave. We can work through this. I looked back at her from the doorway. Work through what exactly? The lying? The cheating? Or the fact that I'm apparently married to someone I don't know at all? I walked downstairs in a daze. Emma took one look at my face and immediately came over. Uncle Gary? What happened? You look like you've seen a ghost. I forced a smile. Just a headache, sweetheart.
I think I'm going to call it an early night. As I watched my family laughing and enjoying each other's company, completely unaware that everything was about to change, I realized that the man who'd walked upstairs 20 minutes ago no longer existed. The man coming back down was someone entirely different. The next few days were a blur of mechanical routine and internal chaos. I went to work, came home, helped with homework, made dinner, all while feeling like I was watching someone else's life through thick glass. Jennifer tried multiple times to talk, but I wasn't ready. I needed facts before emotions, data before decisions. Being an accountant has its advantages when your world falls apart. You learn to compartmentalize, to look at evidence objectively, to audit when things don't add up. And boy, were things not adding up. On Wednesday night, after the kids went to bed, I started my investigation. Jennifer was working a night shift at the hospital, which gave me time to go through our financial records properly. What I found made my blood run cold. Over the past 3 months, there were charges I'd never noticed. Or rather, charges I'd noticed but Jennifer had explained away. $200 at Victoria's Secret in February. New workout clothes, she'd said. Another $150 at Nordstrom for lingerie I'd never seen her wear. 3 separate charges at expensive restaurants downtown, places we'd never been together. When I'd asked about them, she'd said they were lunch meetings with other nurses or celebrations for someone's birthday. Then I found the hotel charges. Not just the Marriott from last Friday, but 2 other upscale hotels over the past 2 months. Always during her supposed girls' nights or spa days with Amanda. My hands were shaking as I called our credit card company. The representative confirmed what I already knew. The charges were all legitimate, all made with Jennifer's card. I sat in my home office until 2 a.m., staring at bank statements and feeling like the biggest fool alive. How had I not seen this? How had I been so blind? Thursday morning, I called in sick to work. After dropping the kids at school, I drove to Jennifer's gym. I'd never been there before. She'd always said it was her space, and I'd respected that. Now I wondered what else I'd been respecting that I shouldn't have. The receptionist, a friendly woman in her 20s, recognized me immediately when I mentioned Jennifer's name.
"Oh, you're Jen's husband. She talks about you all the time." Then her expression shifted slightly. "Wait, I thought she said you two were separated." My stomach dropped. "Separated? Oh, no." Her face went white. Maybe I misunderstood. She mentioned she was going through a difficult time with her marriage. I just assumed." "What exactly did she say?" I really shouldn't. This is awkward."
Maybe you should talk to your wife. I drove home in a fog. Jennifer was sleeping after her night shift, but I couldn't wait anymore. I woke her up. "Jen, we need to finish our conversation." She sat up, immediately alert. "Gary, I've been thinking about what I said, and I need you to know how sorry I am." "Tell me about Amanda." "What?" "Amanda from your gym, the one you've been having spa days with." Jennifer's face went through several emotions before settling on resignation. "How did you find out?" "Does it matter? Just tell me the truth. All of it." She took a shaky breath. "There is no Amanda." "Well, there is, but she's just someone from my spin class. We're not close friends." "So where were you on those spa days?" Another long pause. "With Marcus." "Who the hell is Marcus?" "One of my matches. A lawyer from downtown." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "How many, Jennifer? How many men?" "Gary, how many?" "3." Her voice was barely a whisper. "3 different men, over the past 2 months." The room tilted. 3 men. While I was at home helping our kids with homework, making sure Tyler had clean clothes for school, reading bedtime stories to Mia, my wife was playing house with 3 different strangers. "Did you sleep with them?" Not completely." "What the hell does that mean?" "We were intimate, but we didn't have sex. I swear to you, I never had actual intercourse with anyone." I stared at her, trying to process what she'd just said. "Intimate, but not sex. What are you, 16 years old? What kind of mental gymnastics are you doing to make yourself feel better about cheating on your husband? Gary, please try to understand. Our marriage felt dead to me. You never touch me anymore unless you want sex. You never really look at me. I felt like I was disappearing. So you decided to reappear by hooking up with strangers from the internet? They made me feel alive again, desired, beautiful." I stood up and walked to our bedroom window, looking out at our backyard, where Tyler's bike lay on its side and Mia's sidewalk chalk art was fading on the driveway. This was supposed to be our life, our family. "Jennifer, do you understand what you've done? Do you understand what this means for our children?" "We can fix this," she said desperately. "I'll delete the app. I'll never see those men again. We can go to counseling." "You think this is about the app?" I turned back to face her. "This isn't about Bumble, Jennifer. This is about the fact that instead of talking to your husband about problems in our marriage, you created a completely separate life. You lied to me every single day for 3 months. People make mistakes, Gary. Mistakes are forgetting to pick up milk on the way home. Mistakes are double-booking dinner plans." This wasn't a mistake. This was a choice. Multiple choices. Dozens of choices. Every single day. I could see you're trying to formulate another argument, another justification, but I was done listening. I need you to pack a bag and go stay with your sister for a few days. Gary, no, please. The kids will ask questions. The kids are going to ask a lot more questions when they find out their mother has been living a double life. You wouldn't tell them. I looked at her for a long moment. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I know I can't look at you right now without feeling sick. That evening, after Jennifer left with tears streaming down her face and a hastily packed suitcase, I sat Tyler and Mia down for the hardest conversation of my life. "Kids, Mom and I are having some problems right now, and she's going to stay at Aunt Rachel's for a little while." Mia, ever the optimist, asked if this meant we could have pizza for dinner every night. Tyler, more perceptive at 13, knew something serious was happening. "Are you getting divorced?" he asked bluntly.
I don't know yet, buddy. I really don't know. That night, lying alone in our king-size bed, I stared at the ceiling and wondered how 15 years of marriage could implode in less than a week, how the woman I'd trusted completely had been living a secret life right under my nose. But more than anything, I wonder what I was supposed to do next. It's been a year since that Easter Sunday, and I'm writing this from my new apartment. Yes, Jennifer and I got divorced. Yes, it was messy. And yes, I'm still processing everything that happened. But there are some updates I need to share, because the story didn't end with her packing a bag. The first major revelation came 3 weeks after she moved out. Emma called me, sounding nervous and guilty. "Uncle Gary, I need to tell you something about that day I showed you Aunt Jen's profile." My heart sank. What about it? She knew I might find it. A few weeks before Easter, she pulled me aside at family dinner and said something weird. She told me that if I ever saw her profile on any dating apps, I should just think of it as a social experiment to understand modern dating. She said it was research for understanding how younger people meet each other these days. I sat down hard. She what? I thought it was weird then, but I figured she was just curious about how apps work. But now, Uncle Gary, I think she wanted to get caught, or at least she didn't care if she did. This revelation haunted me. Had Jennifer orchestrated her own discovery? Was she so desperate to end our marriage that she'd set up this elaborate scenario?
I confronted her about it during one of our custody exchanges. She denied it at first, then broke down crying. "Maybe subconsciously I wanted you to find out," she admitted. "I was so unhappy, Gary, but I was too coward to just ask for a divorce. Maybe part of me hoped you'd discover it and make the decision for both of us." "So you turned our niece into an unwitting accomplice in blowing up our family?" She had no answer for that. The divorce proceedings were brutal. I used everything: the dating profile screenshots, the hotel receipts, the credit card statements. In our state, adultery matters for property division and custody. Jennifer's lawyer tried to argue that her actions were the result of mental health struggles, but the evidence was overwhelming. I got primary custody of Tyler and Mia. Jennifer gets them every other weekend and one evening during the week. She moved into a studio apartment across town and started therapy. The kids handled it better than I expected, though Tyler went through a phase where he blamed me entirely. "Maybe if you'd paid more attention to Mom, she wouldn't have needed to find attention somewhere else," he said during one particularly harsh argument. That comment nearly broke me. Was I right? Had I been so focused on work and routine that I'd neglected my wife? The guilt kept me awake for months. But then came the second major revelation. 6 months after our divorce was finalized, I got a message on Facebook from someone named Derek Hoffman. The name sounded familiar, and then I remembered he was one of the men from Jennifer's dating app conversations. "Hey Gary, I know this is weird, but I think you should know something about your ex-wife. She told me some things about you that I now realize were lies." We met for coffee the next day. Derek was actually a decent guy, a divorced father of 2 who'd been genuinely looking for a relationship. What he told me changed everything. "Jennifer told me she'd been divorced for 2 years, he said. "She said you were emotionally abusive and that you'd tried to keep her from working. She painted herself as this victim who was finally free and ready to start over." My blood ran cold. "What else did she tell you? That you never helped with the kids? That you controlled all the finances? That you'd threatened her if she tried to leave? Honestly, man, she made you sound like a complete monster." I showed him photos from our family vacations, screenshots of loving text messages I'd sent Jennifer during our marriage, even my credit card statements showing that I'd regularly bought her flowers and gifts right up until Easter Sunday. Derek stared at the evidence, shaking his head. I feel like such an idiot. She was so convincing.
I actually felt protective of her. How did you find out she was lying? She posted a photo on Instagram a few months ago. It was a throwback picture of your kids at some family event, and you were clearly visible in the background, laughing and holding your daughter. The timestamp showed it was taken during the period she claimed you'd been divorced. Derek showed me the Instagram post. It was from Tyler's 12th birthday party, a day I remembered as being perfect. Jennifer had captioned it, "Missing these family moments," with a sad emoji. When I realized the timeline didn't match what she'd told me, I started questioning everything. That's when I decided to reach out to you. Over the following months, I heard from Marcus, the lawyer, and Brad, a teacher she'd met through the app. Similar stories. Jennifer had crafted an entire fictional narrative about our marriage, painting me as an abuser and herself as a survivor. She hadn't just been cheating on me. She'd been systematically rewriting our entire history to justify her actions, both to her lovers and to herself. The most disturbing part was realizing that she might have started believing her own lies. During our divorce mediation, she'd made similar claims about my emotional unavailability and controlling behavior. Her therapist had even suggested I might have been unconsciously manipulative. Now I wondered, had Jennifer convinced herself that she was the victim in our story? Had she rewritten 15 years of marriage in her mind to make herself the heroine escaping from an oppressive situation? I confronted her one last time, armed with everything Derek had told me. You told 3 different men that I abused you. You created an entire fictional version of our marriage where I was the villain. Jennifer's face crumpled. Gary, I never meant for it to get so complicated. I needed them to understand why I was doing what I was doing. So you invented a story where I was a monster. I convinced myself that you were emotionally distant, that maybe that was a form of abuse. My therapist said that emotional neglect can be just as damaging as other forms of abuse. So you took therapeutic concepts about emotional neglect and turned them into stories about me threatening you and controlling your finances? Jennifer, you had your own credit cards, your own bank account, your own car. You worked full-time at a job you loved. I know none of that was true. I think I was trying to make myself feel less guilty about what I was doing. Today, Tyler is 14 and starting high school. He's come around and no longer blames me for the divorce. Mia is 11 and thriving. She's discovered she loves theater and is constantly putting on shows for me in our living room. I've started dating again. Nothing serious yet, but I'm learning to trust again slowly.
Ironically, I met someone through a dating app. The same technology that destroyed my marriage is now helping me rebuild my life. Jennifer and I are civil for the kids' sake, but we're not friends. She's in a serious relationship now with someone she met in therapy group. I hope they're happy together, and I genuinely hope she's learned something from what happened to us. But here's what still haunts me. I keep Jennifer's dating profile screenshots, not out of bitterness, but as a reminder of something terrifying about human nature. The person I loved most in the world, the person I trusted completely, was capable of not just betraying me, but of rewriting our entire shared history to justify that betrayal. She didn't just cheat on me, she erased me from my own story, turning 15 years of love, partnership, and family into a narrative of oppression and escape. Emma, now 21, still apologizes sometimes for ruining my marriage. I always tell her the same thing. She didn't ruin anything. She just revealed something that was already broken. I still don't know if Jennifer orchestrated that Easter discovery or if it was genuinely coincidental. Maybe it doesn't matter. What matters is that my kids are okay, that I'm rebuilding my life, and that I've learned something valuable about the difference between the stories we tell ourselves and the truth we live with others. So, Reddit, was I too harsh on Jennifer? Should I have fought harder for our marriage instead of going straight to divorce proceedings? Part of me wonders if she really was struggling with mental health issues and I should have been more compassionate. But another part of me knows that trust, once shattered the way mine was, might never truly heal. I guess I'm still figuring out if I was the asshole in all of this, or if sometimes protecting yourself and your children from someone who can rewrite reality is the only sane choice left. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life drama. Got a take on the situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing from you.